What I got for you today is an AC 4377. It's a rebuilt pump by God only knows who. Fits 5657 Nash Ambassador, 5657 Hudson, and 57 to 59 AMC, all V8s. What makes this pump unique for dual action pumps is this top piece. This is usually at the front. It looks kind of odd with it hanging out the back. I think it was that way, it was made that way for clearance problems. I could be wrong. In any event, we're going to go through it, freshen it up, and I'll show you how it's done. So stand by. This tag on the top tells me obviously that it's been rebuilt, and it even has a part number on it. Normally your number would be stamped into this flange. If it was a first time or wasn't done by an aftermarket company, it would have been stamped in here. They are AC castings. At least the fuel casting and the vacuum casting is AC. The middle part is a no-name. Let's get to the rebuild. Always do the vacuum side first on these dual action pumps. We're going to remove 8 screws. Hold off on the last one till you can put your hand over the top of it. There's a heavy spring sitting right underneath this that'll make the thing pop up. Okay, the last screw. If it's stuck like this one is, get a putty knife, put it right underneath where the 2 halves come, and a few taps will release it. There's the spring, inlet and outlet valves, spring seat, vacuum diaphragm. Some of these you just turn it 90 degrees and lift it up, other ones you have to unhook it. This one is a turn. And as you can see, the seal came up with it, which explains all the oil. So this was never, by the looks of it, it was never really staked in there, which led to the pump filling up with oil. There's 2 valves in here. Remove the both of them. You get new ones. There should have been a gasket in here too, which I'm not surprised. There isn't. Turn the pump over and we'll get to the fuel side. Before you remove any of the screws, put a mark, a reference mark somewhere on here so that the cover, the casting goes back on the same spot that it was when it was on the car. Draw a picture of it, make a mark. Take a hacksaw, run it across both castings, top and bottom. Remove the bowl. Oh yeah. As you can see, this thing is just, it's terrible. It's had a hard life. Get the bail out of the way. And you screen out. That screen is just about plug solid. And got a lot of stinky gas in it too. Removed the 10 screws. Actually removed 9 of them. Hold off on the 10th. One of the reasons to hold off on the 10th one, not so much the same problem as the vacuum side with the spring. There is a spring underneath this, but it's underneath the diaphragm, so it's only going to come up a little bit. But a lot of times I find something that's got real bad gas in it like this does, as soon as you undo this, like whatever's left in there comes pouring out. And it tends to get everywhere. Again, it's really stuck. There's a spring. Oh yeah. Normally you'd have to unhook this. What you'd do is you'd push it down just about 1/4 of an inch and tip it back. Down and back, and you'd unhook it from the link that's inside. God, this stuff stinks. There's a seal down in here. Rather than prying against it, when you end up breaking this casting, what I do is I come up from underneath, catch the edge of the metal ring, and just lift it out. Aside from washing this down a little bit, it's ready for the glass beading tank. And we got to get the valves out. Center screw. Just pop out these valves. There's also gaskets in here. There's one in here also. And where I'm going to be glass beading it, I'm going to stick the screw back in there so I don't fill up the hole with glass beads. Now the vacuum casting, in order to get the valves out, God, what a stink. In order to get these valves out, clamp it, stick your screwdriver in, or whatever, from this side, and just pry it out. Same thing with this one. And they usually come apart in 2 pieces on this end of it. Still, you get down inside and just pry it to one side. It looks like they didn't use any gaskets on the vacuum side. It wasn't in the body and nothing in there. Okay, this is ready for some cleanup. Glass beading, some clear coat, and we'll flatten out these surfaces. We'll be back shortly. Now that everything's cleaned up, we can start some assembly. We got to put in these, actually this one valve. Now you're gonna get a gasket for every valve, and there's 6 valves, 2 here, 2 in the vacuum side and 2 in the fuel side. But you only need to put in 5 gaskets. This one here doesn't need a gasket, but you can put it in if you want. Installation tool for the valve. Valve's going to go with the rivet down. Went in kind of easy, so we're going to stake it. Actually, what I'm going to use is, I have a chisel that I ground the end flat. It's good for doing these. Flip it over, put in the seal. Now our seals will only go, actually they'll go 2 ways, but only one way is right. This is a retainer. Notice it's got a groove cut around in here. This is the seal. It's got a piece of aluminum on it. It's got a groove right around in here that they fit together, just like that. And it's going to go down inside. The tool that you can use a wooden dowel if you want. Well, you're better off with a piece of tubing or a socket. It's got to have 1 inch outside. And it's got about an 1/8 inch wall to it. So the inside's probably going to be around 13/16, somewhere in that area. As long as it doesn't interfere with, well, it wouldn't interfere with one of the valves because you're not using that size valves in this application. Take a drop of oil, put it in the center. We don't want that pull rod to run dry. Make sure you put the spring on. Line up that pull rod. Look at it from inside here. And I can't do both, so you're going to come up and hook it onto the pull rod right down in there. Vacuum casting. Set aside the body for now. Vacuum casting, get it so you can support it somehow. Install a gasket on each end for the valves. And notice the hole is a little bit smaller than this here, which means this valve will go with the rivet up. Now, here's a good example of why staking it is a good idea. This valve just folds right in. No need to even press it in. So what we're going to do is, I don't know if you can see it or not. See the little dot around the outside? One here, one here. There's 2 up top. Little center punch. You want to dent the casting. And it will hold that valve in there nice and tight. And I have a feeling the other side, which is going to go with the rivet down, is going to do the same thing maybe. Well, maybe a little harder. It's kind of crooked right at the moment. Still went in a little too easy. So we're going to stake that one too. Just support it. It doesn't take much. Just a little extra security. Just give it a little tap to seat it. Now the fuel side, the valves are held in with the clamp, 2 gaskets, and again, see the size of the hole. It's going to tell you which way the valves go. These just drop in, and then the clamp just goes across the top of it, and the screw right through the center. Screen, gasket, bail, and a bowl. Screen and your gasket. Bail and a bowl. You should be able to blow air in and not suck it out. You should be able to suck air out and not blow it in. Works perfect. Okay, we're going to put the vacuum casting back on. Look for your reference mark. There's mine right there. Yours might be on the side, doesn't matter, wherever it is. Put 2 of the screws through the casting and then through the diaphragm. Take some of the pressure off and run these screws about halfway down. Don't tighten them up. Put in the rest of the screws, but don't tighten them. Okay, the next part of this is kind of important. We're going to preload the diaphragm so that it doesn't wear out prematurely. Put an adjustable wrench on the arm for leverage. Pull it all the way up so the diaphragm goes all the way down to the bottom. Now tighten up at least 4 of these screws. Once you get at least 4 of them done, you can release the arm and tighten down the rest of them. We want them all nice and snug. Once you get all the screws all nice and tight, go around one more time, make sure you got them all. A quick and easy test is to block off the inlet and try to pull that arm up, and you'll feel suction. While it's up, hold over the outlet, let it go. You'll feel pressure. If it goes down really easy, check around the bowl area. You already tested the valve, so it couldn't be that. Check around in this area, and that should answer any of the questions, or you should be able to test it that way. On the vacuum side, again, that seal goes in the same way as the fuel side did. Just to give you an idea of why that seal came out. There's no marks, no swedging marks on there, so they never secured it in there, so it didn't bother staying. We're gonna do it. It won't come out now. Drop this valve in. Remember, no, it doesn't have to have a gasket. You can if you want, but it doesn't have to. And just like the other side, put a little drop of oil in the center of the seal. Now this pull rod on this side has this arrow design. You're going to start out putting it down here until you hit that link that's in there. Turn it 90, go very slowly, go down with it, and as you're going down, keep turning it and you'll find the slot and it'll slide right in. Just push the arm down so you get that link is up. Alright, I'm down inside now. I hooked up. You want to make sure it is? Try lifting it up and lose the arm, and it tries to push the diaphragm up. Okay, line up the holes. Spring seat, the spring, 2 screws opposite each other. Set it down on there and get one of them caught. And then catch the other one. Run them about halfway down. Check around the outside edge. Make sure that diaphragm hasn't been pushed up and caught behind the casting. And this looks good all the way around. You don't usually have problems with these ones. It's the ones that use the bigger diaphragms, where there's a lot more space in there. Run the screws about halfway down, and then just wait for a second. Nah, you don't have to wait. Run them halfway down. Put your adjustable back on. Now the vacuum side, the diaphragm just needs to be set in the middle, in the neutral position. On one side of the diaphragm there's a little tab. You can't see it in the video, but there's a little tab sticking out. You just watch that, and as you're pushing down, that little tab will go from up like this, and it'll go down, and then when it's down this way it's too far. Set it right in the middle. And tighten up. Again, 4 of the screws. That just, all that does is help hold it. So you don't have to sit there and hold that hold that arm. Now tighten down the rest of them. While you're tightening down these screws, you just might want to keep in mind you are going into cast aluminum, and they're not the strongest thing in the world, but you can strip them. Then you got to take it all out and put a helicoil on it. This one's ready to go back. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section down below. We can be found on the web at then-now.com. Phone number 781-335-8860. If you see that I've done something wrong, put it in the comment section. I can take it. And that's about it. Thanks for watching, and I hope this helped you.